Welcome to episode 21 of Play Some D. As always, we are here with your boy, Coach D. Got me a little collar on today. I had a tee, switched it out, but whatever. What am I talking about? Just felt like, fresh episode, fresh shirt, how we do. But yeah, this is 21 of my weekly engagement of topics, 4 topics that is, in 4 quarters. No overtime this week. There was overtime on episode 20. I'm almost positive, but there'll be no overtime this week. But Play Some D is broken down into 4 quarters, 4 topics randomly. They could be sports, music, news, politics, random assortment of things, thoughts, just weird stuff that I talk about, come across, and just want to spew it here. So it's not technically a podcast, but it's kind of a podcast. But anyway, Play Some D. And I got some goody gumdrops for this week. As always, if you don't mind, if you want, if you don't, like it, love it, whatever, thumbs down it, comment, subscribe to it, post notifications, all that good stuff that YouTube provides for, the viewers to do if they also choose to. Please and thank you if you do. This week is going to be Space Jam, Damian Lillard, alcohol, American alcohol. Talking about that. And then just something that's been talked about or discussed or mentioned or just weirdly thought about is people washing or not washing their legs in the showers. So, yeah, right? D, what are we doing here today? Yeah, I'm talking about washing legs today in 4th quarter. So, if you want, you could fast forward through that, I could do the effect for that, but it's not going to happen. More than likely, it's not going to happen. It's definitely not happening. But, yeah, you can jump to the 4th quarter if you like as I talk about that also interesting or not interesting topic. It's just kind of a topic, and I just want to touch on it. So I'm skipping, jumping right up into the 1st quarter, and I almost didn't talk about it. I was not going to talk about Space Jam 2 because why? Is not much to dig out of Space Jam, but big movie, a lot of people talking about it. So here we are, Play Some D, quarter 1, it's Space Jam 2, the new legacy starring Lebron James. And a lot of people for the longest time, I mentioned it years back that they're going to do a Space Jam 2 with LeBron. It looked like it was not going to happen, but once he moved to LA, it was kind of just pretty much almost done. Once he moved out here, it was pretty much in the works. I know it also was difficult with him being in other cities and being able to do it because he was always in the finals, and then you don't have that much time to shoot, and then it can get tough. But living here, you're able to do a little bit more than you normally are. In terms of reviews, I haven't read any actual reviews from really anybody. I've seen some social media chatter, and I've seen the percentages on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb and Metacritic. They're all pretty low, which is weird, but whatever. I mean, I do think, as always, that this was going to come down as a Michael Jordan versus LeBron debate. Can't get better than the original. Blase. It's not totally true. Obviously, it's the same concept of a movie, but they did do some really good things into changing it and bringing it new age. And then just the message. I think that was the key here, and I think that was one of LeBron's biggest things with doing this movie is making sure it was a good script and him being the dad he is and making this like the ultimate dad movie. Michael Jordan's was daddish too, but this was real big on dad and empowering your kids and listening to your kids. It's a very new age. It's very 2021. It's very fitting for how parents want their kids to do things nowadays, especially when they have talented kids. I coach basketball, so when you see parents that have talented kids, they really want to get the most out of them because it makes sense, because there are a lot of kids that just do want to sit around and not do very much, the bare minimum, or just hang out, have fun. So you have a kid with talent, you want to maximize that talent. So this movie touches on all of those things, and also as an adult or parental figure, getting out of your own way and your kids' own way. And that happens multiple times for LeBron. And here with the Looney Tunes squad, they're down 1,000 at halftime. And he's like, let me get out of my way and their way, because it's never talked about that LeBron knows that there was a previous Space Jam game with Michael Jordan. It's kind of Bugs and Babs mention it. They make some jabs that they've played in the game like this before, and they know what it takes. But I don't know if LeBron technically knows that. And especially at the beginning, just showing his video game distraction, and he was a Bugs Bunny fan, I guess you can say. And I thought that could have came through without the opening scene, but the opening scene kind of manifested what he felt about making sure his son put in the work and became great, because he did. So I thought it all joined together. It was probably a little bit too long, hour and maybe the runtime. So I think like the opening credits where they show like LeBron's accolades and things of that nature, that might go a couple minutes. Then the think with the credits, so it's probably like a 140 something runtime. Could have took off about 5-10 more minutes, maybe, give or take. But I'm nitpicking there. But overall, I thought the movie was solid. I thought it was a good movie. It's for kids. It's not for adults. It's for adults to be able to watch. There are some giggly, laughing moments in here. There are some cool, teary-eyed moments as well. So it brings a little bit of both. And then I just thought the movie did a really good job of encapsulating tech, which I thought was a cool angle. And then Warner Brothers. That was the big thing, is that how the game took place. The stars that were watching it, how they ran through the worlds in the sub universe, whatever they called it. Yeah, how they ran through DC and the different things, and even how they played a lot of the movie in a cartoon setting, because you could do a lot more. It's a lot more funnier and sillier things you could do in the cartoon space than you can in actually the live action space, which is where the game actually took place. And so it wasn't a lot of things. They did some cool stuff, but not as much stuff you can do in the Looney Tune world. So I originally thought that Bryce actually played this. I thought actually it was Bryce and LeBron that played roles, but Cedric Joe does a phenomenal job. I think he does a really, really good job as Dom, as LeBron's son. Don Cheadle was excellent as the villain. He wasn't over the top. They gave him some animations that made him fit the role without being over the top. And he's just a great actor. And then the wife, there were some good actors around LeBron. Now, LeBron's acting, I feel like they shouldn't have let him act. They should have just let him be himself. He actually acted, where I just actually think, and maybe they did take takes when he just was himself, but if he would have just, I don't know what worked out, but the acting was bad. It was bad through and through. I mean, his best scene might have been the last scene. Uh, but yeah, he was awful at acting. But Mike was too. Um, don't really want to shoot out any spoilers in terms of how the story goes, but it's just like the original Space Jam. The team is assembled by Sue Bird, Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard, and NECA. So it's dope because the two ladies in there, they did a really good job. It was just beautiful how they did that. And that's the team that's assembled through the sub-universe is tech, and they give the players special abilities. It's not like the Monstars where they zap the actual players in real life. They zap their powers and they're like helpless. Anthony Davis and Klay Thompson were, if they were in the subverse, they were themselves. They still had their hoop game and all that stuff. So that was cool. And then it was the halftime scene was absolutely one of the really really good scenes. So that's the halftime of the game. That was a good scene. So all in all, the movie was not made for adults, but it's tolerable for adults. And then it's just an overall good movie for someone with kids, especially talented kids and parents, to watch. Not necessarily a teaching moment to tell people how to parent, but it gives you some enlightenment. It may open your eyes to some things you may not seen, and just think about other ways to operate with your kid and kind of give them their leeway, especially if they deserve it and they're working hard and doing what they're, want to do or they love, things of that nature. So Space Jam 2, A New Legacy, highly recommend it. Watch it, check it out. Boom, boom, pow, second quarter. And second quarter is actually perfect because person that was in this movie, Mr. Lillard, I call him, so when I'm watching the game, I call him Lil, as in little Lillard. We're probably the same height, but I'm older than that guy. So, Lil. But no, Damian Lillard, there's big trade rumors revolving around his name. It looks as if he came out Friday. I did not see that or read up on the articles that he said he did not request a trade. So the trade does not happen. It's not actually going to go down. He's not demanding a trade. But I just want to speak on trade opportunities for the Trail Blazers. Now, obviously, just speaking of LeBron James, the first thing that any just wild thoughts, you think, oh, he wants to play with LeBron and AD for the Lakers. I think Kyle Hurd mentioned trading him for AD. That's just silly string. AD does get hurt, but LeBron and Lillard, it's going to be tough for that squad to win you a championship as long as LeBron is playing like a ball dominant guard. So that, AD still needed. They just got to figure out how to keep him healthy or find a serviceable placement. I mean, AD's a top 5 player when he's healthy, so you got to, if you trade him, you wouldn't trade for Lillard. But anyway, Lakers do not have the pieces, in my opinion, to get him. If they were, it would have to be vetoed, just like the Chris Paul trade was vetoed. It's just no way they can get him. There's no Kuzma, Horton Tucker, THT, Caruso. There's nothing left after that. There's nothing else that really gets it done. Schroeder sign and trade, no. It's nothing Portland would want from the Lakers that gets it done. Let the Lakers out the window. Now, the next spot you would go, New York Knicks. I think that's just, and I'm just talking about land and spaces, New York Knicks. And it makes a little bit of sense, but then I don't believe they're as good as the Trailblazers currently are or were. They would be trading RJ, Obi Toppin. It would have to be RJ Barrett's around that, and Lillard and Julius Randle. I just don't think that gets it done. I mean, I don't know what else you put around that. I mean, you can get more players, obviously, but that doesn't get it done. But it does look cool, and then you do get Lillard in New York, and then there's an immediate impact or opening that, some guys may want to come play with Lillard in New York. So that there makes some sense there. Right after New York, you stay in the East and Philly. Ben Simmons for Lillard, a package of Simmons for Lillard makes a whole lot of sense, honestly. It does. I mean, I know Ben Simmons probably doesn't want to play in Portland, but him and C.J. McCollum could probably do very, very well. Portland has a explosive team. I don't know what they bring back, but Nurkic, Zach Collins gets healthy. It could be interesting if that trade happened. Now, for the Philly side, obviously, they would do it, I would imagine, a drop of a dime, because Lillard, Harris, and Embiid, they're right there. I mean, the East becomes, the East is already, but yeah, I mean, that's Brooklyn and 76ers series to, and you still got to, Bucks, obviously, you got to throw them in there. But Philly, I think, immediately becomes the favorite, because I probably would take Philly with a healthy Embiid over probably everybody, the league. I think, I don't know. Healthy Embiid, yeah, that's tough. But yeah, I think Philly does it in a heartbeat. Blazers would be more reluctant, but they do get Ben Simmons. He's young, and there's a possibility that jump shot does show up, and there's a possibility that he does become pretty good. Unlikely, but there's a possibility. Another interesting trade would be Golden State. I do still think, regardless of what happens in the NBA Finals, Golden State will make the call for Giannis. Milwaukee takes their championships, and I don't know. Giannis may not want to leave, but I'm almost positive Golden State makes a call. If they get hung up on, I would. I don't care. I would make the call, even if he won a championship. I am calling and saying, what can I, buy off you guys? What can I trade you guys for Giannis? But anyway, Lillard to the Warriors would be interesting, because you got Lillard, Clay, Steph, Draymond, and it doesn't really matter. That's you kind of running it back with a little Durant. But he's smaller, different dynamic. But him and Steph and Clay would be nuts. Would be nuts. And defense would just be timely stops, because they're going to score so many points, getting up so many shots, and a lot of them are going to be going down, and it would just be really, really hard for teams to keep up with that scoring output, and then they would just have to find a big man to put in the middle. But yeah, they would trade Wiseman, they would trade Wiggins, and some first round picks, and I think the Warriors would be totally fine with that. So that's an interesting, fun one, but definitely a doable one. I don't know if Lillard and Steph would really want to play together. They do the same exact thing, and they would give up in the playoffs, in the later rounds, the Western Conference Finals and the finals, they would be a huge liability in the backcourt, and teams would get a lot of buckets on them, so they may not want to play together at all. Miami Heat was just one that Miami Heat always comes up. Big player, you think Miami Heat, and him and Jimmy Butler feel like that's like a match made in heaven. They wouldn't trade Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson for James Harden. I wouldn't have either, but I mean, it wouldn't have got him anything. But it's yeah, Miami Heat makes a lot of sense for he gets to go to a bigger market. He'll compete. He'll have a good team. It'll be Bam, Jimmy, Lillard. I like that better than this current Portland team. And then there's just a whole bunch of other suitors. Raptors, I wouldn't do a trade to the Raptors. He would want to go to a team that's competing. Possibly something weird with the Clippers could happen. I don't see it at all. Other teams that could possibly be in the mix at the top up there. You can't do Luka and Dame. I don't think that would work at all. Everybody would want them. Everybody would want their services. So you could pretty much go down the list and say, every single team could figure out a way to trade for them. So that's, that is that. But I do think he's out. He says he's not out, but I do believe he's done. If it's not at the start of the season, it'll be by the trade deadline, especially if they're lagging behind and just don't look good. And I think it's time that the Blazers start looking in the next direction. He is 31. CJ can hoop, and they can get some value for Lillard and maybe get some players and keep a competitive team out there. And maybe I personally think CJ can thrive. I think CJ can add easily be a 28 a night guy. I mean, he makes baskets. He's a basket maker, and I think given the opportunity to lead a team, I think he can. I imagine his body can hold up for that, but it would be a dope opportunity to see him get that shot. So that's second quarter, and my halftime is not as good as Space Jam halftime. It's boring, and it just jumps right over into the third quarter of America and alcohol consumption. Now, I feel like I did this already or talked about this, but I want to talk about it again because another report came out. We obviously know with the pandemic, people were in the house and drinking was something to do. But Americans started drinking more as soon as the pandemic began. In full last year showed a 54% increase in national alcohol sales year on year in the week ending in March 21st, 2020. As the pandemic wore on, so did Americans drinking. From late 2020, found that 75% of Americans increased their alcohol intake during the pandemic to include at least one more day per month, while women particularly increased their alcohol intake by 39% compared to 2019. Another survey conducted by the American Psychological Association this year found nearly 1 in 4 Americans reportedly drinking more, specifically to combat pandemic-related stress. And a separate study found women had greater increase in excessive drinking than men, to the point that their intake levels were almost equal. Americans just drink too much. I really could just end the segment right there. I mean, people use liquor as some form of coping. I mean, obviously that's exactly what the study says. It's, for stress. You want to have a buzz or get drunk or not think about it, or alcohol makes you feel good, or whatever the case may be. But that leads to other things, I think, that if you need to continue to take the edge off when things get worse, you start to roll down a wilder path. And then also, I think there's just more constructive things you can do with your time than continuously drink every single day or every other day. just because you're bored or at home or angry because you can't do something or had a rough day. I think there's other ways to figure out how to let that steam off. After more than a decade of declining alcohol consumption, per capita alcohol consumption increased by 8% between 99 and 2017, and the number of alcohol-related deaths per year doubled to nearly 70,000. Sales of liquor rose during the pandemic as well, which is especially worrying as distilled spirits are much easier to abuse than lower alcohol beer or wine. So that's what I was going to say too, that I was reading a study that some people in certain areas live long. They drink green tea and water and wine or whatever, glass of wine or whatever. There's a lot of different wines to drink, and I do understand that. And a lot of people say, I drink certain wines, my hair hurt, and You find a good wine, good grapes, not cheap wine. Normally your head won't hurt unless you're drinking a whole bottle and you're not hydrated, you're not drinking water, you're not eating properly. Yes, your head is going to hurt. So there's better things to drink. Maybe a cold alcoholic beverage, not a hard liquor on the rocks or shots just to, be woozy to get drunk and wake up in the morning like, ooh, I got a little hangover, but I still got to go to work. I just think it's a little strange, and I'm not at all judging anybody to do it because I totally understand. I get it. But I just think as drinking is to solve your problems or suppress your problems, I think there's other things that would just be better for people to do. If you're in a bad situation and you drink, that's not changing the situation. You want to do something to constructively change the situation. That's how I look at it. Some people don't. You maybe just feel like I'm stuck in this situation and I'm just going to drink to that. Socially drinking, that's something that's different. You go out, you're with your friends, you want to have a good time. That's different. If that was the alcohol consumption, then I wouldn't probably even be doing this. I would just be saying that people shouldn't be drinking and driving and all that stuff, which I don't think that many people. I could get the statistics. I don't have the statistics, but I'm sure not that many people are. The unusual solitary nature of pandemic drinking was especially risky, known as solo drinkers get more depressed as they drink. That's exactly what I was thinking, but that's from an actual piece in the Atlantic that actually says that, and I believe that. I mean, you're with drinkers, and or when you drink and think. I mean, everybody that drinks is around drinkers, and they drink, and you know what your thoughts are. You remember what you were thinking or doing, or what somebody else said to you. You kind of hear how liquor spews thoughts out, and just any type of drug or thing that alter your brain functionality. So while the pandemic was a global stressor, drinking more was mostly an American response. A recent survey found that Europeans, with the exception of the British, drank less in the first months of the pandemic. It's too early to know how the return to in-person socialization will affect drinking trends, though a number of states have moved to extend more liberal pandemic-era alcohol regulations, like allowing bars to sell to-go alcohol. Alcohol is a drug and increasingly legal and available one that is the third leading cause of preventable death in the U.S. And thanks to the pandemic, Americans are drinking more and they're drinking worse. This is an Axios article, recent, I think it's the 7th, and it's just interesting because, like I mentioned, there's so much other stuff to do. And not to say that people aren't drinking and painting or drinking and reading or drinking and trying to learn a new skill. Not saying that at all, because that definitely could be possible. But If you get frustrated, you may drink more. Then you sit down. And then not only that, when you drink and maybe, i.e., you worked all day and you're not active, you're not drinking, settles on your belly, you gain a little bit of weight, pandemic. They always say it's something 15, freshman 15, sophomore 15, pandemic, it's always 15. I can't stand it, but it's really just due to not doing the proper things and just kind of blaming the situation. Just blaming the situation. I was about to say blame the situation on the situation, and that's instead of just saying this is what it is and this is what I'm going to do. And I think that's the better way to attack it. And yeah, Friday nights, maybe Monday night, maybe Sunday night before you go to work. Yeah, maybe you want to have a drink. Maybe you want to wind down a little bit. But every day and buying liquor, you go to, I remember going to the store during the pandemic, and yes, some of the liquors were gone. Some of the wines were out. Some of the brews were out. It was surprising just how much you're like, man, people really are drinking. And also, I give credit that, yeah, people were socializing amongst each other. So it's not like that everybody was necessarily, these articles these articles and surveys and things aren't in everybody's household. So some people were drinking as families and drinking as friends and just hanging out and maybe having constructive and or cool conversations. But just on alcohol, I just feel like it is, a lot of doctors and healthcare professionals say it's really the worst thing you could put in your body. So why put it in at such an alarming rate, or just at such this rate at such the worst time to do it in? And that's all. That's really one of the biggest things too. It's like, it's a pandemic. So why crank up the pandemic's nature with more alcohol? The worst thing you could put in your body with one of the worst pandemics of our lifetime. You want to mix that up with alcohol just to say, oh, it makes me feel better. But yeah, America's have a drinking problem, and it ain't going nowhere. Boop. I did not drink that much during the pandemic, by the way. Didn't buy one new bottle of hard liquor. Wine, yes. I did not purchase a bottle of hard liquor. That's Coach D, though. That's D. It's me. Everybody ain't me, and I ain't them. To each his own, but yeah, liquor. Yeah. For fourth quarter, just such an interesting thing here. And we get that in the middle-ish. This whole idea of not washing your legs. Now, couldn't find statistics, but I have seen the threads, the forums, the people talking about it, videos. Some people don't wash their legs. And in some weird instance, it makes sense. One of the articles I read is that focus on the dirty areas of your body. And almost every time I wash my legs, since I was a little kid, when I get in the tub, I wash every part, top to bottom. I always feel like I take long showers, and I always wonder how people take short showers. Sometimes I be hanging out with people and they just get in the shower and get right out, and I just be like, what did you do in there? Starting to realize what people do in there. They kind of just get in, splash water on themselves, hit the important parts, and then kind of just let the soap do its thing and get out. I wash, but I did read an article that said focus on the most dirtiest areas. Makes a lot of sense. And my legs are almost, I'll scrub real good, and my legs are almost never dirty. That's probably because I wash them. But I also thought, if you don't wash your legs, a lot of people wear shorts. A lot of people run, work out, wear a pair of pants that they didn't wash, and then, put them back on their legs. And you get into bed. with that. Now, if you wash your sheets every day or every other day, you wash your sheets more than you do your legs, then I guess I can understand that. But then I always figure, like, man, at some point, don't the legs develop older? I'll never forget when I was younger, high school, my buddy let a friend of ours wear his jeans. I think he only wore them like once or twice, and he brought them back to him with a ring around it, ring around the I think it was the ankle. There was a ring, a dirt ring around his pants, and we couldn't understand how. We never thought. I definitely didn't. I don't know if he did, but I didn't think to say, does he wash his legs? Because you take a shower or a bath, my natural inclination is think that you wash your body, everything. That's what I think. I wouldn't imagine getting in the bathtub and missing something. I never miss my feet. Then you always think too. Sometimes I guess they say it's a condition when people with like smelly feet, but I wonder how many of those people don't actually wash their legs and or feet every time they get in the shower. That's so now, present day. This topic hasn't even been on my radar, but I think the last maybe 1 to 2 years. Maybe Taylor Swift brought it up, or I forgot who brought it up. Maybe it was 2019 or maybe 2018, and I just couldn't believe like that's actually a thing. This many people don't wash their legs. You hit the butt, groin area, and then you just let the soap do its thing. LeBron was on Jimmy Kimmel a couple days ago, and he just said when he was younger, he just let the soap run down and do its thing. Somebody else, I've heard that. I've heard that. So it's just shocking to me, but I do think it doesn't take a lot. I mean, I'm sure there's some individuals that maybe have some physical ailments that don't allow them to get to their legs and or feet and things of that nature, and they may need special devices that make it hard, so they do it every now and then. Before the everyday individual that can do it that just doesn't, I think that is just a little strange. But I get it. Like I said, if your legs aren't dirty, why keep washing them? I know people that don't take showers for 3 days. I mean, wouldn't that be the same concept? Like, so if I don't take a shower for, 3 to 4 days and I just wash my legs once a week, isn't that the same thing if I took a shower and didn't wash them? But once a week, took a shower every day and didn't wash them, but once a week, isn't that the same thing? And do you look at the person that doesn't take a shower every 3 days, what kind of washes up any different? Not really. But it's just interesting to think that you would get naked, get in a place to wash, and don't wash everything. You're just going to do it right. When I was younger, I pretty much wash my hair every day. And even when I have low hair, my hair is lower, I wash my hair pretty much every day or every other day. So even that, I don't want dirty hair on my pillows. And but showering and washing everything, it's not a hard task. We have the luxury to do it. And I just think my 2 cents is wash your legs. Wash your legs. And that's fourth quarter for Play Some D, episode 21. This one, as always, I enjoy them. Enjoy it. I'll keep coming back. I want to get some kind of setup where I can get someone in here and chat up 4 topics with me. A couple times, or maybe it's a regular occurrence or whatever. We'll see. I do want to get it to where it's just not my mug here on the screen, and hopefully, get some organic discussion, because I grab a thought, maybe grab an article, read a little bit, but as far as no script, I freestyle this every single time, how I feel, off the top of the dome, and it's just cool. I mean, let's play some D. I always say variety is the spice of life. That is what spurred this idea, these episodes, this podcast, this think space of mine, soapbox, talk show, whatever you want to call it. But this is the 21st. 22 will be coming next week. Thank you for all the love and support. Once again, if you don't mind, please like, please subscribe, turn on those post notifications. So when this video goes live, you is in the dizive. That's a bad rhyme. But when this goes live, you'll be able to see that baby, that notification to pop up. Coach D's online with another one. There's other stuff I did want to talk about this week too. That I've been wanting to do album reviews that just don't make the cut. I did want to talk about the Surfside stuff for weeks, but I'm just gonna leave that. Just a big story. It just sucks for all those people. I think I might have mentioned that last week. A lot of topics to talk about. There was some news about the CRT to talk about last week. And, Texas did some stuff this week. So, but no, OT, this is it. Once again, let me get up out of here. This is Play Some D. This is episode 21. Thanks for watching. And as always, until the next one, holla.